Good evening, everyone. This is a conference meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township held in Council Chamber, City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, at 7:13 p.m. Roll call. Councilman Coley?
Present.
Councilman Jackson?
Here.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Here.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Here.
Councilwoman Williams?
Present.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason?
Here.
Also present, Joyce Lanier, City Clerk, Chris M. Hartwick, the Business Administrator, Gracia R. Montillas, City Attorney, Kenneth Douglas, the Fire Director, Adrian Mapp, the Finance Director, Marty Mays, Planning and Public Works Director, Paula Fiera, Tax Collector, Kit,
She's not here. Yeah, there she is.
Catherine or Katrina Neese, Water Superintendent, Marlon G. Towns, Legislative Research Officer, Maggie Home, Mayor, Clerk's Office, and Tamara Robinson, Clerk's Office. Please stand for a moment of silence.
Amen.
Please be apprised, anyone wishing to discuss agenda or general items shall sign one book. Each person signing the book will be allowed to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. The requirements of NJSA 10:4-9 et sec, the Sunshine Law, has been met. A notice of this meeting was published in the Star Ledger on July 5th, 2019, and the record transcript on July 11th, 2019, posted on the bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the City Clerk. Tonight, we were supposed to have a presentation from the Board of Elections for the rollout of the new voting machines, but I do not see them here. So, council members, are there any resolutions or ordinances on tonight's agenda you wish to discuss?
Yes, I do. 94-2020, we can start there?
Hold on a moment, Councilman Cole.
Okay.
Before we move on to that, in the municipal election, the county was going to roll out new voting machines, but unfortunately, the parts are on delay. They were coming from China, so we will not be rolling out the new machines.
It could stay.
We are going to only use the machine in one voting polling site, and that's the Elks Lodge. And the county will reach out to all registered voters in that district to set up a date to come into the Elks Lodge for training one-on-one prior to.
Council President?
Just in one ward, right?
Just in one ward,
Yes. Yes,
One district,
Councilwoman
one
Williams.
ward. Not
Yes.
one ward, one district.
just one district.
Okay. Council President? And are they gonna be rolled out throughout the state? Or is it only
For
one district and is it?
Essex County we're rolling out this new machine, and in the municipal election, it's only the same thing that's happening in Orange will happen in all the municipalities in Essex County that are having a municipal election.
So one
They
district
will roll
per-
it out for the Board of Education for April, for like Irvington, Newark,
Just one district per municipality?
right.
Okay, got you, okay.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman Cole.
94-2020. Mr. BA, Mr. Mays, what streets are we talking about that's going to be taken care of under this resolution?
Marty Mays, Director of Planning and DPW. This applies to all the streets remaining to be paved.
All the streets. When you say all the streets, you got to pretend I'm a 2-year-old.
All right, so what happened was we had a contractor that was doing the concrete work and the paving. And now we're going to, moving away from him doing the paving work and allowing one of the co-ops to do the paving work.
But my question still hasn't been answered. What streets?
This is the paving portion of the 30 streets that were on the list for last summer,
Okay.
where we've done all of
The curbing and the curbing. Okay, all right.
And
That's when you,
So
Okay.
it's the list that we have posted on the website.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mays, before you leave, now that he asked that question, so on the streets where we have replaced the sewer, are they gonna go back and smooth out all of that
All
bumpy?
the patching that was done during the winter weather will all be redone this spring.
Okay, all right,
And we anticipate starting in about 2 weeks.
okay.
Council President,
Yes, Councilman Weed.
while we have you here, and if you would allow, Council President, just for clarity, even though this was a mild winter, we still couldn't pave. Could you just briefly,
Well,
could you have, or?
Well, if we had a crystal ball,
Right.
right, and we knew that the temperature was gonna stay above 40 degrees for an extended period of time, we could have, but that hasn't been the history, so if you're doing this responsibly, you base your actions on what historically has occurred, and what historically occurs when the winter happens is the asphalt plants close, and you do not lay asphalt in winter months because temperature dramatically affects quality.
Right, okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mason, 95-2020. The address for this particular, business, 132 South Harrison Street. I ride past there almost every day. That's the old, mansion. It appears to be, vacant and abandoned. And they're using this as a business address. Maybe I'm wrong by, maybe they do have an office in there, but it definitely, appears to be vacant and abandoned.
Yeah, I don't know, I've only spoken to them on the phone.
yeah, I don't know either. I will check it, though. I don't know.
All right, so should we continue with this resolution, or should we just kind of, hold on to it until we can, confirm if this is a legitimate address? I mean, is that something that is,
When's the work actually gonna start?
I know the survey work has already been scheduled, so I would say probably within the 30-day time frame.
Okay, so bring it back to 17.
That's fine.
okay? And, I have one more.
95-2020.
On 1/11/2020, can you explain this note that's attached to the, resolution, Mr. BA?
That resolution has also been amended.
It's been amended?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the note,
Yes, it should be.
when this originally went out for bid, or for proposal, we asked for 3-year proposals. We got 3-year proposals. When we came to the council, it was to approve a 2-year contract. And we had some debate internally as to whether or not we could go the additional 3rd year. We got the memo from Mr. Lurch's office today. I reached out to Dieter. I didn't have an opportunity to speak to the city attorney, but to the extent that there was any disagreement or lack of consensus, it doesn't matter because the initial 2-year period doesn't end until August 14th of 2020. So what we've done is amended this into a funding resolution for the 2020 year. We've asked for $125,000, which will include the upgrades to our software and security systems, as well as some equipment upgrades. And then we'll go out for RFP for the next 2 years.
Okay.
And we'll have that in place before the expiration at the end of July.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam.
Councilman Colon, you have an amended one for that one on your table. Is the only thing is, the date should be July 1st.
BA Hartwick, you want to address that?
Which one?
The same one, the termination date of the contract?
Yeah, it should actually be August 14th, 2020, because that was the original date in the resolution.
Okay, okay. Because I knew in our finance meeting. said
Yeah, we
July
did, but
1st.
Vaughn spoke to me afterwards, and he's
Okay.
correct.
All right. So you have an amended copy on your table for that one.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Jackson?
Thank you very much, Council President. I wanted to just clarify some of the amounts in 111, if I could continue with that one.
Can I just tell everybody what the amendments are before we go?
Yeah, sure.
So the termination date is now August the 14th, 2020, and then the contract has been reduced to $125,000
Instead of,
instead of $225,000.
okay, instead of 220. Okay. And that made a difference, because I was just trying to clarify. It looked like the resolution from August 8th, 2018, the amount was 125, and then another 100,000 to 2019. And then in December of, on 4/23/2019, we added about 44,000, and now we're adding 125,000 based on the amendments.
Yeah, so the reason you have that history is because these are needs-based contracts.
Yes.
So your needs with regard to computer software, hardware, and consulting time change throughout the year. So when we did the first resolution, we only funded the first 6 months and indicated that we would fund the next year in the next budget. So we did another resolution for the subsequent year. Now we're doing a resolution for the next 6 months.
So now we'll have a 21st century server and system in the building?
We already have a cloud-based system that's
Yes.
been implemented over the last 18 months.
Wonderful.
And now we're finishing the upgrade of all the software that's on everybody's machine, as well as security on everybody's machine, and cloud-based security for our servers.
Wonderful. And that's all I had on 111. But if I could go back to 96/2020. And I just wanted to ask about the results. So this is a resolution appointing Fairview for risk management consulting. I see that they've been serving us already, but I wanted to know, are some of their advice going to result in policy additions or amendments?
A lot of the risk analysis is done on our self-insured retentions, as well as reserves on individual cases, both workers' comp and liability. They also, in that capacity, interface for us with the excess carriers who provide stop-loss gap insurance. They provide this on an ongoing basis, attend all the JIF meetings with the commissioners, and provide us with reports, and we meet with them on a regular basis to ensure that our reserves are adequate.
So this may result in maybe a decrease in litigation regarding those issues?
What it results in is a better estimate on what we're facing in terms of cases that have been filed, what their ultimate value is. It also can result in, and has resulted in, reduced premiums. When you do your risk assessment and your loss reserves accurately, the excess carrier appreciates that.
As do all of us, right? I have a question, thank you for that answer, on, well, I just want to make a positive comment regarding 105. I think that is a resolution authorizing and ratifying award for preparation of market feasibility and economic impact valuation for pilot studies. I think that'll make us more efficient and more effective in arranging pilot agreements that are in the best interest of Orange and valuing our property, or at least be knowledgeable enough that that developers don't set the price. We already know what it's worth. Not that we haven't been doing it, but I think it makes us more efficient. Looking at 106, it's a authorizing extension of a contract for workers' comp matters. Can we have an update on the matters that are identified on the attached resolution, please, at some point? I know that, a memo is maybe the preferred way. I'm talking about 106, Attorney.
We can do it either by memo form if the council wants to have a presentation, an executive session. I can also do that as a litigation update, whatever is the pleasure of the body.
Well, in terms, at least I know at the last meeting, we discussed that you were gonna provide a memo on the updates of the litigation that was identified in other resolutions. I think it may be more efficient for you, maybe if you, maybe you say with whatever is okay, but that way you wouldn't have to come here and.
Understood,
you
that's
know,
fine.
Take time during our meetings.
Sure.
The body, of course, could
You
choose what
good?
they want. And I have one more, on 109. That's a resolution for the transfer of appropriate reserves. I just want to identify what refuse removal is. It's the total amount that's.
Business Administrator
$290,000.
Hardwick,
So this particular $290,000 is for the reimbursement program.
Okay.
Under state statute, multifamily buildings can elect to hire their own private garbage haulers, and they will get reimbursed for a portion
Gotcha.
of their cost, not the whole thing, but a portion. We were a little bit short in the estimates, budgetary estimates, because we had additional multifamily facilities come online. So the vast majority of the money that's being transferred is going to fund the refuse removal reimbursements.
All right, thank you for that answer. That's all I had, Council President.
any other council members?
Council President, if I may,
Councilman Johnson?
Resolution 108, 2020. Can the VA or the administration speak to why we are introducing this resolution at this particular time?
We do this every year, at the beginning of the year. The statute requires us to set the interest rate.
Is it an interest rate different than last year?
No, it's not.
Same,
It's exactly the
Nothing
same.
increased.
It's just paperwork,
yeah, just paperwork, nothing
Good.
increase.
and it has nothing to do with the amount of people being delinquent more than the year
Nope.
before? Nothing.
In fact, your collection rate went up.
All right. Good to hear. Thank you, Council President.
Council President, if I may.
Yes, Councilman Johnson?
I
Jackson.
I neglected to mention my biggest issue is with 2-2020. That's the ordinance to amend the affirmative action, Chapter 7.
Councilman Johnson, before you get into, Jackson, I'm sorry, if you remember, this went to committee.
Yes.
So it will stay open until you guys make a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not doing anything with it
Wonderful.
tonight.
Okay.
It stays but the public portion will stay open till you guys do your meeting with Mr. Hardwick, and I understand he gave you some dates, but y'all haven't sat down and met on it yet.
No, I didn't receive any dates, but we also are not fully staffed. We still need 3 appointments by 3 other members.
Right, but in,
Gotta go
just in case, we can still meet with the
Yeah.
people
That's
you
it.
can still meet,
Okay.
all right?
All right.
So
say
until you
Council
guys
President.
meet and come back with the recommendation, because you
All
have 4.
All
Council
right.
All right.
President,
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
just to, Mr. Harwood, did you hear that he didn't get the
I
dates?
did, I'm looking right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
No other councilman move the agenda?
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Williams, second by Councilman Johnson Jr. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned, 7:31 PM. This is a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township held in Council Chamber, City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, following the conference meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call. Councilman Coley?
Present.
Councilman Jackson?
Here?
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Here.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Here.
Councilwoman Williams?
Present.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
Here.
Also present, Joyce Lanier, the City Clerk. Chris M. Hartwick, Business Administrator. Gracia R. Mantillis, City Attorney. Kenneth Douglas, Fire Director. Adrian Mapp, Finance Director. Marty Mays, Planning and Public Works Director. Paula Fiera, tax collector, Katharina Neese, superintendent of water, Marlon G. Towns, legislative research officer, Marguerite Homer, clerk's office, and Tamira Robinson, clerk's office. The requirements of NJSA 10:4-9 et sec, the Sunshine Law, has been met. A notice of this meeting was published in the Star Ledger on July 5th, 2019, and the record transcript on July 11th, 2019, posted on the bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the city clerk. There are no meeting minutes to be approved. Reports. There's no department monthly revenue collection reports, no constable reports, no OPA reports, council reports.
Does any council members have any reports they'd like to make at this time? Any updates?
None for me, Council President.
Move the agenda.
There are no communications and petitions. Citizen comments. Pursuant to Section 4-10 of the Code of the City of Orange Township, each person addressing the council shall step up to the microphone, shall give his or her name and address in an audible tone for the record, and unless further time is granted by the presiding officer, shall limit his or her address to 5 minutes. The public is expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted. The chair will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comments.
Mr. Jeffrey Fell?
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld, local businessman and an attorney and a mortgagee whose local business address is 268 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey. As my custom, I've delivered a heads-up memo to the various elected officials, clerk, and the city attorney and the BA prior to this meeting. I incorporate my questions and my exhibits into the record. The first thing I would like to talk about was about last Thursday. Many people in the community do not know or appreciate what occurred last Thursday based on a press release issued by the New Jersey U.S. Attorney that our former library director pled guilty to lying to the federal government, and another person was indicted and arrested for an event that occurred with the library. The reason I say that's very important, under the criminal statutes and civil statutes of criminal enterprises, you need a predicate of 2 guilty pleas. And that event triggers a lot of things that can happen as to damages and how people are looking at Orange today. As to the last meeting, there was an OPA report about January. As I pointed out in my memo, one of my OPA requests was not included. But, I mean, the theme tonight is transparency, accountability, and adherence to the rule of law. One of the exhibits I gave to you is all the open OPA requests that are due to me. Meeting minutes. It's important that we start adopting the minutes and posting it on the website. In the future, maybe we might just have links to the videos rather than adopting minutes, because that's what I think the trend is now for the assembly is talking about, that the videotape is the minutes, you attach it. In addition, to help the public, and we've been promised this with technology, that the resolutions and ordinances that you're considering tonight, we'll be able to have links to read them. I appreciate some of the amendments that were made, such as to the redevelopment one, but if you're going to hand it out to us, if it could be black line, so we can see what the changes are, because we don't have the original, and it's hard for us to appreciate in such limited time what the changes are. But I appreciate the changes being made as to the redevelopment resolution, that it now has a name as the North Main Street area, and it specifies the addresses, and that helps the transparency. As to the retention to various professionals, in light of the guilty pleas, we had to preserve negligence claims. We have a lot of negligence claims against professionals. So when you retain a professional tonight, make sure that you preserve and reserve your rights, that you're not waiving the rights that the city has against these professionals, such as your bond counsel. The reason I say that is one of the things I received recently is a copy of the closing index for the closing that occurred in April 30, 2019. When you read the bond opinion, there's no reference to my litigation. When you look at the certification signed by our mayor and our finance director, they certify that there was no obligations outstanding. We know that's false. We know that we haven't paid the county more than 2 years, 3 years in long-term tax exemption revenues. And under state law, if you don't pay an obligation 2 years in a row, the state has to take you over. And I also say, when you read some of the obligations and premises, this obligation was issued on April 3rd, 2019, matured on October 3rd, 2019. I can't tell you how we
Mr. Fail, please face the,
I don't know how we
The council.
refinanced it. That we need to know. As to the budget process, in my memo, there are dates that the state has set. And Mr. Mack, when he sits on the local finance board, knows the deadlines. Where is our annual debt state? I've made Oprah requests. We haven't received it. The annual finance statement. As to local finance board regs, it was due yesterday. Where is it? That's really it as to resolutions. I will talk about the ordinances later, but please help us. As to litigation updates, technology is great. 2 answers have been filed by the same law firm, which has never been retained yet to work in these litigation. It's very important that we follow the work product of certain law firms. I will talk about that later as to the Main Street redevelopment ordinance, why that's very important. Thank you.
I apologize, but I can't read Post Office Box 737. Okay.
Yes, my name's Derek Tague. Since you can't read it, D-E-R-E-K, T-A-G-U-E, 27 High Street, lifelong resident of Orange. I use P.O. Box 737. My biggest concern was addressed somewhat in the autumn about the clock sign on Main Street, and it's nice to see that it's been fastened better to the facade of the building. And as has been alluded to before, in a separate matter, we've been blessed with a mild winter, so there hasn't been any blustery windstorms that might have taken it down and hurt somebody. But I just want to know if the sign's going to be removed. Okay, it's safer now, but it's still an eyesore. Another thing. This past Sunday in the Star Ledger, there's a article about the premiere of a film called Radium Girls. It's going to be playing, like probably the art houses. I don't see that playing in Essex Green Cinema, but it was historically based film about the Radium Company on Alden Street, and as many people might know, that during World War I, they used radium to paint glow-in-the-dark watch dials for use for the soldiers in World War I, and immigrant girls were told it was safe, and they were told it was okay to lick the points of the paint brushes to come to a finer point. I take a particular interest in this story because I originally grew up on 407 High Street, Lakeside Avenue, which is the corner of High Street, and then my family moved directly across the street to 279 High Street, which was above Resnick's Tavern, Gatsby Saloon. Went through a bunch of name changes, and I grew up in that neighborhood. And all the kids behind the Radium Company between Lakeside and Alden was a railroad track, decommissioned railroad tracks, and all the kids in the neighborhood played along those tracks after the dinner hours. And I was playing in radioactive dirt during my formative years, and I don't have any way of ascertaining if my exposure to the radium causes the Asperger's syndrome that's indicative of me. But I just want to bring this film to everybody's attention, and it would be nice. It opens on April 3rd. If somebody could make some sort of a resolution that this, unfortunate as it is, you can't deny history, that this did happen within the confines of Orange, New Jersey, and I never thought it was practical, even though it was a super fun cleanup site, that it's now a playground for kids. Thank you for your kindness. Good evening.
Mr. T, can I have a copy? I'm gonna make a copy, sir.
Karen Wells.
Good evening. Karen Wells, Highland Avenue. I know that you can't answer any questions, so I'm not asking any questions. But I just want to state that as a taxpayer in Orange, and the amount that I'm paying, and I keep waiting for things to happen. And as I look at the agenda here, we've got resolutions thanking this one, honoring that one, doing that one, but I don't see any resolutions or any mention of Highland Avenue train station. And it's my understanding that we have a lease with New Jersey Transit that somehow we can't see or haven't seen, and there's no mention of that. There's no mention of services, supermarkets, trolleys, parking, no mention of that. But I heard tonight mention of computer services. So everyone that knows me knows I'm a software engineer. I personally find it hard to believe that we have a cloud system, because I've been on this, on the website. So if we have one, it's not one that I'm familiar with. The redevelopment agreement, we keep having these little dog and pony shows, but, you know, nothing ever happens. And like someone said earlier, when resolutions or ordinances come out, it should be that we can see the whole thing. Why have I got to put in an Oprah request to see the whole thing? When I'm a taxpayer, I'm paying for that already. I shouldn't have to now put in a request to see it. And there's nothing on here about pilots, where we had another dog and pony show where we had the developers come in, and I asked plain and simple, are you getting 25 and 30-year pilots? And they all said yes. So that's like a tax abatement for them. Multi-million-dollar developers are getting tax abatements, and we're getting tax increases. I mean, you know, and then street repair. I was here for the Historic Commission meeting, and I left here and went down South Center all the way to whatever it is. Then I got on Carteret. It was like being on a roller coaster. I mean, everybody keeps saying there's a schedule to have the streets repaired. What happened to the schedule? Anyway, I know you can't answer any questions, but I just wanted to make sure that those things were in the record, because I see absolutely no movement. And I mean, I do honoring people and all that kind of stuff, and that's really good. But this is a business meeting where business should be going on, and I don't see that. Thank you.
Do we have a motion to close citizen comments?
You gonna talk about it?
Motion to close. Motion to close. Coley, second. Johnson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council comments.
Council President, you going in a different order.
Senator Johnson?
Oh, I didn't really have a lot, but I just wanted, B.A. Chris, if you could, can you just talk about the Highland, because we did it last month?
We did do that Highland
Yeah,
train
we did it
station
last
last
month,
meeting.
so I want to make sure that
Yeah.
the public knows.
No, you do it.
The New Jersey Transit has reviewed and approved the lease. The meeting took place with Transit's operations people, and we have submitted the plans for final approval to the agency. Upon receipt of the approval from both Transit and DOT, bid specs will be drafted and submitted to the public for bids on the contract.
Okay, I just wanted to let that part.
But I'm sorry, because that was so boring. Chris, you gave a nice big.
It wasn't
presentation.
clear?
You gave a good presentation, like, that it was passed, although you said it, whatchamacall, was passed in December.
Right.
Da-da-da-da-da. Because we did it actually 2 meetings in a row.
Right.
Okay.
So, you know, that's okay. You know, we've had a lot of meetings and a lot of progress on the Highland Avenue station. New Jersey Transit, as people know, and DOT, if people are familiar with, they are slow lumbering bureaucracies, but they have approved the lease. New Jersey Transit has signed off on the plans. DOT is now reviewing the plans. SHPO has signed off on the plans. Once we have DOT's review and approval, we will publish the bid specs, and the bid specs are drafted, correct, Marty? So that process has been truncated as we've drafted the bid specs while the agencies were reviewing plans. We should be in a position, assuming DOT responds in the timeframe that they indicated, to bid the project this spring.
That's the end of my council comments. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson?
I'm a choke, really.
I have no council comments other than to wish my wife a happy birthday today. So I can actually get in the door when I leave. But, thank you for having me, giving me the opportunity to wish my wife a happy birthday. Thanks.
Councilman Williams?
Thank you, Council President. First of all, a lot of my family are Delta members, but I'm not. But they have a good campaign going on, and I really like it. And it says "do to," and it's fill out the census and vote. And that's going to lead me right into my council comments. I want to remind everybody that the census is upon us, and that by now you should be getting information in various different ways, and it's very important. We're here talking about streets. We talked about grants earlier. These numbers are based on numbers that are compiled from the census, and they last for 10 years. Even our federal elected officials are based on these numbers. It's very important that we fill out the census, and as always, it's important that we vote and get involved. I want to remind everybody that the Orange Public Library, Ms. White wants me to remind everybody that the Orange Public Library has a book club, and this month they will be reading Whitney Houston's book, and it's March 30th. Do you know? Because you're looking at me like, to make sure I say it right. Do you know? But she wants me, it's March 30th is the next book club reading, and they're reading, let me just see, Whitney Houston's, the book about Whitney Houston, A Song for Whitney, and it's again by Robin Crawford, March 30th, 7 to 8 p.m. in the Watson Room. Any questions, contact Ms. White at the library. Chris, any updates with the budget?
It will be, we were hoping to introduce it on the 17th of March, but it looks more likely it'll be introduced in the first meeting in April.
Okay. And to Mr. Phelps about the debt statement, between you and Mr. Mapp, do you want debt statement?
Regarding the AFS and the ADS?
Yes.
So the AFS was filed with the state, I believe, 2 to 3 weeks ago. I'll have to pull it up and see what the date is. The annual debt statement has also been completed.
Okay. And, Chris, we are up and running with our open space now.
Yes.
And I'm nostalgic, like Mr. T. Is that clock something that can fall under it?
It's a privately owned building, so it's.
But they can apply for grants, I thought.
Well, if for historic preservation for the facade, that would be the only thing that would qualify for.
Not for the actual, well, the clock.
I mean, the clock, as
Okay.
part of the facade.
Okay. So if, Ms. Lanier, if it, so it will fall under historic preservation, which is a part of the open space, could you just see if that's something that we can possibly look down the road to restoration?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And I want to send condolences out to the Payne family, to the family of Emmett Brown, and to the Briggs family as well, on the loss of their loved ones, and particularly, well, all of them, but, you know, Emmett was, everybody's in shock, but Emmett was really a shock, and we're just sending out love from the city of Orange. And finally, Women's History Month is upon us, and I will close with a quote that says, "A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until she gets in hot water." Thank you, Council President.
Yes. Councilman Jackson?
That's pretty good. I like that one. Thank you, Council President. I want to reiterate the importance of the census. Orange is one of those towns that is severely undercounted, in my belief. and I hope that people would participate so that we can accurately determine how many folks live in our town. Along with that, as we have elections coming up, I hope that people make sure that they are registered, and if you have people who are newly neighbors or friends or family who recently arrived in Orange, that they change their voting address to an Orange address so that they'll be able to participate. And in thinking of the Radium Girls story, it's part of our history that led to OSHA regulations and protections for workers. They had to die horrific deaths, but we need to be mindful as we go forward about the impacts of pollution and I guess hazardous materials on our community, including plastic. There were some discussions about whether or not we should have a resolution that bans plastic bags, but we also have to think about all the plastic that comes with salad containers, styrofoam boxes, and it's just we're just inundated from flip-flops to microwavable plastic containers, milk containers. It's just so many different water bottles, and I tell you, I don't know what we're gonna do, but as we try to interest children in science, think about ways that we can. I hope somebody here can invent some ways we can recycle or reutilize these plastics. Maybe we can use them to make roads, put roads together or something. I don't know, but a ban is a good start. But what are we going to do then? Thank you, Council President. That's it.
Councilman Coley.
Yeah, Council President Thinker, I don't have a whole lot. I mistakenly deleted some emails. Mr. Mays, I need your help contacting DOT. If you can start getting on a horn with them to resurface Freeway Drive West. They took care of Freeway Drive East for us about a year or so ago. If they can take care of Freeway Drive West, that is a very problematic road. If they can take care of that for us, I appreciate it. That's all I have, Council President.
Okay, I have a couple of announcements. Orange Resident Shredding Event. The next event will be held Saturday, April the 25th at Orange City Hall, in the Orange City Hall parking lot from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Bring all of your documents for shredding. So please put that date on your calendar. Saturday, April the 25th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Also, I know we just ended Black History Month, but there's a musical playing in South Orange called Till, which is the life of Emmett Till. It will be there until March the 8th. Please try and go see that play.
Where at?
We have a young man from, I'm gonna get there. We have a young man from St. Matthews who's starring in that play, but it is excellent. It's at St. Andrew's Church, 160 West South Orange Avenue in South Orange. I would like to ask you guys to please support it. It is a good play, and I think it's the first time it's been in this area. So if you can, the tickets are not that expensive like Broadway, so you can't really afford the tickets, but it is a very good play. And also, and I'm going to talk about something else that I experienced this week for our seniors. On Thursday, we have a lot of seniors that live alone. We have a lot of seniors that has no family. We have a lot of seniors that has no one to take care of them. On Thursday, we found one of my residents dead in her home. She was 80 years old. And the interesting part was when we got there, we could not find no next of kin, no phone numbers. So I'm asking all of us, and I think the police department is spearheading a database for our seniors that live alone in houses to put together their name, their address, and the phone number for the next of kin. Those are the things that we need to make sure that we take care of, and I hope some of our seniors are listening, and for anyone else, please make sure, I know a couple years ago when acting prosecutor Ted Stevens was here, we went to my senior building and we gave everybody a blue folder to put all of their documents in, insurance, next of kin, who should be contacted, and we asked them to put it in the cabinet so that anybody that walks into their home and if something that happened, they can pull out that folder and they'll know who to contact. So in the meantime, until we get the database together, seniors, please put the name and telephone number of your next of kin somewhere on your refrigerator. So if something happens and they need to break down your door, they need to get in your house, they can go right to your refrigerator and figure out who to call to come and take care of business. I mean, that is very important. And I'm hoping that if we know seniors that are living alone, that we will reach out to them and make sure they take heed to that, because it is so sad to find somebody dead and you can't find anybody to own the body. So let's take that into consideration. One other thing, Mr. Mason, are any of our signs in yet for crossing guards or any of the things that we were updating? So I will follow with you on after tomorrow on what I'm looking for. Move the agenda.
Ordinance on second reading, public hearing. 2-2020, I'm gonna read the title, oh, you wanna make an announcement?
Yeah, I'm stopping her because I know a lot of you came out tonight. I just want to make sure that you came out in the rain, that if there was any concern you had that we did not address.
They're from church and regarding the street renaming.
The street renaming?
Yeah, Councilwoman
Okay, on the
myself.
resolution that's
Yes,
on there?
mhm.
And you might want to make one more announcement about the voting machines for the election.
The county was supposed to come before the council today to do a demonstration of the new voting machines that they were going to roll out. Unfortunately, the parts are coming from China, so they won't be rolling out new machines for the municipal election. However, we will be using the machine in one district, West 6, at the Elks Lodge. The county will be contacting all registered voters in that district to do training on the machines.
Is it West 6 or North 6?
I think that's West 6. Is that West?
On Main Street?
Elks Lodge.
On Main Street?
It's North 6?
That's the
Okay,
North Ward.
North 6.
North.
That's the North Ward. Yeah, Main Street.
Also, I don't know if we didn't mention this earlier, but there are 2 walk-on items outside if the public didn't get a copy. 2-2020. I'm going to read the title, open up the citizen comments, and this item will remain open until the next meeting and until the planning committee meets, Planning and Policy Committee meet. An ordinance to amend and supplement the code of the City of Orange Township, Chapter 7, Affirmative Action, to add Article 3 entitled Orange Residents Employment Policy to require hiring of city residents on construction projects, sponsored by Councilmember Donna K. Williams. Are there any citizens who wish to speak? Okay, the public hearing will remain open. 3-2020, an ordinance adopting the Main Street redevelopment and rehabilitation plan with condemnation pursuant to NJSA 40A:12A-7. Are there any citizens who wish to speak?
Again, my name is Jeffrey Feld, a local businessman and attorney, MRG, whose local business address is 268 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey. I like that my memo and the Main Street redevelopment plan history that I sent to you today are incorporated into the record. What I like to talk about is about drafting and some of the patent errors that are contained in it, and I think we should take time to make sure everything is correct. Like if you look in the first paragraph, when you say resolution number 7-2019, that's the resolution number of the planning board. How can the planning board authorize itself to do a study? If you look at the third paragraph, it has the wrong date when the ordinance was adopted, the original Main Street plan. My main concern here is that we had to specify the history, that there was an original plan that was procedurally defective, and we had to go back. Originally, about 140 or more parcels were designated to be considered be subject to condemnation. The list was reduced to approximately, say, 14 and 19. The question is, the properties that were originally sent out under the threat of condemnation, are they subject to a redevelopment plan? Because one of the things, if you start looking at the history of the resolutions in the chronology I gave to you, and if you look at the studies that have been posted on the website, when you send it to the planning board, and you see that in the resolution that you're going to consider later, you had to tell everyone whether it's a non-subject to condemnation or it's a non-condemnation plan. What happens when you tell everyone originally the property is going to be subject to a condemnation plan, but they're carved out? Are they subject to a plan? The reason I say this is that the council has constructive and actual notice of two major events that you might want, that basically support what I'm saying. One was a letter dated December 9th, 2019, talking about some of the problems and the designations. In addition, on January 13th of this year, a complaint has been filed challenging the study about saying that originally was condemnation, our property was taken out of the condemnation. What are we? Are we subject to a plan? Because if you look at the plan that's attached to, that you're going to be voting on, there's no discussion of the original plan that was adopted, and an answer was filed by the city on February 20th. When did this council approve this law firm representing the city? Before you vote on it, every council member have to look at the complaint and look at the answer. And why the city, some of the responses are giving, saying that we have no knowledge. What do you mean the city has no knowledge what happened in the planning board and what happened at city council meetings? These are the things that we've been following. Also, there's an overlay that you have to be considered in here. Most of this stuff, this redevelopment plan and the documents you're looking at, the Nishuan Group was involved in it. We cannot avoid confronting the situation with the Nishuan Group. On January 13th of this year, Frank Lenore pled guilty, and there was an information. And there's discussions about a certain Montclair planning, a certain Montclair urban planner. What I'm suggesting to you tonight is have special outside counsel look at this document. Make sure all the dates are correct. All the resolutions are correct. Understand what is the consequences of various properties being told that they're going to be subject to a condemnation plan. They go to 2 or 3 planning board hearings. They're carved out of the condemnation plan, but are they still subject to a redevelopment plan? Which redevelopment plan they are. In addition, when you look at the actual ordinance, like number 2, all resolution or ordinance or parts thereof inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Shouldn't we specify what resolutions we're talking about? Because this is a historical document. If we have to go to court, everyone's going to say, what are you talking about? You're just being generic. If a specific ordinance is being rescinded, say what ordinance is being rescinded. If a certain resolution is being rescinded in history, say what resolution is there. Also, look at the chronology, look at what attorneys were involved, who made recommendations to the planning board years ago without designating whether it was a plan or an area that's going to be subject to condemnation or non-condemnation. Thank you.
Motion to close?
No.
No, she's coming.
No, sir.
Again, Karen Wiles, in reference to the redevelopment and all the things that Mr. Fell said in terms of, we got this one, we got planning one, this that go for the planning board. Orange has 5 historic districts. And there are, in most of our buildings are historic, especially on Main Street, Orange Hospital, and any number, the churches, whatever. And I haven't seen in detail what all the properties are that have been designated as in the redevelopment, out of the redevelopment, condemnation, whatever. But the fact of the matter is because we have a certified historic commission in Orange, that has to come before us. and we're not seeing it. But we have no legal authority on it, but, and it recently came to our attention that there's supposed to be a condemnation of Orange Hospital. Orange Hospital is on the National Register of Historic Places. I was there when it was designated. All of these things have to come before us, and if they don't, the National Register will come after you. It's just a legal, entity. So maybe some of them do need to be torn down, maybe some of them don't. I'm not really sure, but we should be able to review it and take it to the National Register and say, this one, not that one, this one, not that one. And if that doesn't occur in terms of historic properties and it comes up, they will come because we will call them. Okay, thank you.
Any other citizens?
Hold on. Mr. Minister, you want to respond to any of
We
that?
do it on, we do it on,
You want to close and then I'll
and
do
then
it?
do it on.
Yeah.
Motion to close citizen comments?
Move.
Second?
Motion by Councilwoman Williams, second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
So the first comments regarding the redevelopment and rehabilitation plan, the most significant issue that you should be aware of is that when a city council adopts a resolution requesting that the planning board do a study, and it is a condemnation study, and it lists all the properties, that is not a directive to the planning board that all those properties are to be included in the condemnation list. What it is a directive to the planning board to do a study of those properties to determine whether or not they meet the criteria. So it's not at all unusual for a planning board to make conclusions that some properties should be subject to condemnation and others should not. That's why the process is undertaken to begin with under the statute. With regard to some of the other points that have been raised, we've reviewed them, and we're satisfied that the ordinance conforms to the statutory requirements and to the process as laid out by this council. With regard to the historic preservation comments, the Historic Preservation Commission has jurisdiction to review filed planning board applications or Board of Adjustment applications that are or relate to properties in designated areas. It has no jurisdiction whatsoever to review condemnation declaration plans under the redevelopment law. It doesn't have any jurisdiction to review city council resolutions or ordinances to designate redevelopment areas. It is solely empowered on an advisory basis to review planning board applications and Board of Adjustment applications that impact any properties located within a historic district. That's it.
Move the agenda.
Motion to adopt on second reading.
Move.
Councilman Williams,
Is there a second
Second.
Councilman Coley.
on the motion? Seeing none, roll call, Councilman.
Council
sorry.
President, I'm sorry, on the motion.
Yes, Councilman Williams.
Thank you. So Chris, so it seems to me that you just said that this is more of a recommendation? Is that too late?
No, this is an ordinance to implement the plan.
No, I got that. Okay, so what happens if some of these properties come and they are in fact okay, the nurse, I think the nurse building, I don't know, that might be historic. I think
Yeah,
that,
so we're not talking about a development plan or an application. This is akin to a zoning ordinance,
okay.
okay?
So it's just zoning is what you can do, just something
Correct.
like, yeah, okay.
That's it.
All right, so, and then, So at this point, it's just saying you can do A, B, and C and not D and F.
Correct.
Okay.
If the property owner came in tomorrow with an application, which, by the way, isn't going to happen, but hypothetically speaking,
Okay.
if the property owner came in tomorrow with an application, and the application was based upon demolishing all of the buildings, they would have to go through the process.
Okay.
And that would be a very cumbersome process for some of those buildings.
And the process would say, this process is historic, is subject to that.
Correct.
This is da-da-da-da. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Roll call, Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Jackson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
Yes.
4-2020, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Orange Township, Chapter 203, Water, Article 1 entitled Connections and Use Requirements to authorize separate meters for irrigation and to address charges for swimming pools, sponsored by Councilmember Donna K. Williams. Are there any citizens who wish to speak? Motion to close?
Move.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilman Coley.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt on final?
Move.
Councilman Williams,
Second.
Councilman Johnson.
On the motion,
Council President.
Yes.
Through you to Mr. Hartwick. Mr. Hartwick, if upon passage, do we follow it up with a protocol? How do we implement?
So, I'll sit with the water superintendent. We'll have to prepare a notice. We've identified all the swimming pools. What we haven't identified is all of the irrigation systems.
Okay.
So we'll see what we can do about identifying those. We'll make sure that the swimming pool owners get notice. It only affects those properties that have either a swimming pool or an independent irrigation system.
Thank you.
roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
Yes.
There are no ordinance on introduction. Ordinance 400-2020 was tabled, and the recommendation is to to remain on the table. 400-2019, a resolution granting developer designation for Skyview Capital LLC and/or its affiliate B&O Urban Renewal entity as a developer within the Transit Village District East portion of Central Avenue redevelopment area. Is there any motions to lift from the table? Seeing none, it remains tabled. 40-2020, a resolution appointing Ismail Iturat Perez as alternate member number 4 of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, sponsored by Councilmember Donna K. Williams, is postponed from 2/4/2018. Is there a motion to postpone again?
Move.
Councilman Williams.
Second.
and
On the motion?
Councilman Jackson.
Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
No.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
Yes.
Beat you up.
Okay, it's postponed. Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. We're going to remove 89-2020. The recommendation is to vote it down. The bingo has been canceled. 95-2020 is going to be postponed, and 11-2020 was amended. Are there any other items on the consent agenda the council wish to remove for a separate vote?
As a reminder, 90-2020 was amended as well.
And, yeah, 90-2020 was amended. You want me to remove it? I amended it. Do you want me to remove it?
No, I'm just
Okay.
saying it was amended.
Right.
Just
The
to
only
add a name.
amendment was that we added Councilwoman Wooten as a co-sponsor.
Yes, just to add a name,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Any other items? No. The consent agenda consists of 85, 86, 87, 88, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 112, and 113. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Move.
Second.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilman Johnson.
On the motion? Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes?
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes?
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Council President Eason. Items removed.
You did.
Did you say, did you say,
I didn't say who.
did you say Donna?
Oh, I skipped right over you, sorry. Councilwoman Williams?
Yes. Council President?
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
I just, in the absence of Councilwoman Wooten, who took the, who initiated, Resolution 88, 2020, I just want to tell the members that the resolution has been passed, and it was, co-authored by myself and Councilman Coley. It's been passed, and at a later date, it will be formally presented. So I just didn't want y'all to sit here until 1 o'clock in the morning with us.
Like, what happened?
Yeah,
They're like, look, we can go.
right.
Let me get yours, so I can give you a copy.
Yeah,
88.
We're gonna wait a couple of minutes as they exit. Thank you guys for coming out tonight.
All right now.
The whole church.
After 87.
okay. Yes, thank you so much.
Maureen, give them two, I got a cold, I can't give them back.
'89 2020. A resolution authorizing the issuance of a bingo license to Hazel Avenue Elementary School, PTA. Is there a motion to adopt? This is being recommended to vote down. The bingos have been,
Move.
Second?
motion by Councilman Johnson Jr., second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. On the motion? Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
No.
Councilman Jackson?
Nope.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
No.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
No?
Councilwoman Williams?
No.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
No.
95-2020. A resolution authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract with Neighborhood Planning and Architectural Design, Inc., NPAD, 132 South Harrison Street, East Orange, New Jersey, 07018, to provide professional architectural surveying, design, and construction inspection services for the Public Works Brook Alley Garage restroom upgrades in amount not to exceed $15,000. Is there a motion to postpone?
Second.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilman Johnson.
On the motion? Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes?
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes?
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
Yes.
111-2020 was amended. I'll read the title and then read what the amendments are. Well, the amendments. A resolution authorizing additional funding for the contract with Sysnex Solution 746 Route 18, Suite 2B, East Brunswick, New Jersey, 08816, until termination of the contract on August 14, 2020, in an amount not to exceed $125,000. It was previously $225,000. Is there a motion to adopt as amended?
Move.
Second.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilman Johnson.
On the motion? Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Jackson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
Yes.
New business. The following ordinance and resolution are being considered to be walked on tonight's agenda. I will read each one by title. Here. please put it up. That's the ordinances. 8-2020 WO, an ordinance amending Chapter 95 of the Code of the City of Orange Township Code entitled Flood Damage Prevention. Resolution -114-2020 WO, a resolution authorizing the four-year appointment of Niall Clements as the Chief Municipal Financial Officer from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2023.
Move.
I have a question about that. Is the term to 23 or 24?
23.
It's 23?
Yeah, it's a 4-year term
4-year, okay.
under the statute.
Was it one, yeah, it's like a lease, I got you.
Yeah, I have both of them, I just read the titles.
You've been canvassing.
Don't feel bad, because I sat there literally and counted it out on my fingers.
Yeah, I just did.
It's like a lease.
Is there a motion to walk these items on the agenda?
Move.
Second.
Councilman Johnson and Councilman Jackson.
Coley and,
I'm sorry, Councilman Coley.
on the motion? Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Jackson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
Yes.
Are there any citizens who wish to speak on any of these items?
I'm here to talk about 114, again, Jeffrey Feld, 114-220. My comments are not directed at the applicant. It's just 2 points. One, the drafting, to protect Niles for things that occurred before tonight, even though it's retroactive, I just want to make sure that he's not held responsible for what occurred from January 1st to, say, March 3rd, because the way it reads, effective, that there's a gap, that he will not be responsible for anything that was not done during that gap period. The second issue is, and this has been something that we've been talking about for budgeting for years, prior to Jack Kelly leaving, our CFO and our finance director were the same person. By recognizing that this is a contract for 4 years, are we limiting our ability for 4 years, with no disrespect to Niles, having the finance, going back where the finance director and the CFO are the same person? My comment is not geared at Niles. Is that, by us adopting this, are we restricting and limiting our ability to go back to consolidating those two positions, with a little premium, rather than having two different individuals? The reason we had to do historically when we split it up was the person who became our finance director hadn't got his credits to be the CFO at that time. And he now has it. And that's when we got Joy, and then we had the other person. The question I'm having is, by doing this, will we restrict and limit our abilities in the future to combining those positions? And this has nothing to do with Niles. It's just a strategy and where we want to go. And then the other one is just to protect Niles for what occurred from January 1st to March 3rd, that he should not be held responsible for what happened, because we had other people in those positions as acting.
Is there a motion to close citizen comments?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Williams, second by Councilman Johnson Jr. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance 8-2020 WO, an ordinance amending Chapter 95 of the Code of the City of Orange Township, Code entitled Flood Damage Prevention. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move.
Second.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilman Johnson.
On the motion?
On the motion, Council President,
Yes, Councilman Jackson.
could you please comment on the concerns regarding the liability of the incoming officer?
That's not the resolution that's in front of you right now, so I can't.
Oh, I thought.
We on the ordinance
Oh, we on
first,
eight.
okay.
Yeah, my fault. I jumped forward.
I'll
Time out.
comment on this one if you'd like me to.
Yes, we need to see.
Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
Yes.
The public hearing for this ordinance will be March the 17th. It will be published in the Star Ledger. Resolution 114-2020 WO, a resolution authorizing the 4-year appointment of Niall Clements as the Chief Municipal Financial Officer from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move.
Second.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilman Jackson. On the motion.
23,
As I
December
said,
31st, 23.
So there were 2 points that were raised. Let's deal with the 4-year appointment first. The statute requires a 4-year appointment. It's very, very plain. I think it was amended in 2007 to make certain changes, but when any municipality hires a CFO, they are appointed to a 4-year term, and it is always under the terms of the statute, retroactive to the January 1st of the year in which the appointment is made. But that does not negate the fact that with DCA, we had approval for another CFO to serve in that position that covers the first 2 months and 3 days of the year. So should anything have happened that gets brought to our attention either through audit or other purposes, with regard to anything that occurred from January 1 to March 3rd, Mr. Clements would not be recognized as the actual CFO who signed off on any of those items. That would fall back to the CFO that was approved by DCA for that time period. No, because it specifically comes from the statute.
thank you.
Roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten is absent. Council President Eason.
Yes.
Is there any pending business?
Council members, any
Council
comments?
President?
You wanted to mention that we should pray for the people in Nashville and the tornadoes, right?
No, I was gonna let you do that. I had something else to say. Can I say what I want? Read my mind. Council President?
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
I just want to congratulate our CFO and know that I make calls at 11 p.m. Okay? And everybody can attest to that.
Actually, that would be early.
Stand up
So-
and take a bow.
We wish you tremendous success and
There you go.
look forward to you taking our city to another level.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Congratulations. I think everybody here knows who you are now, unless you want to stand up and take a bow.
No, you just stood up.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Coley, second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. All in favor? Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 8:31 p.m.